This is Chuck Martin at the AI Summit, and I'm happy to say I'm talking to Mr. Microsoft here. We have Rahul Mehrotra, Senior Product Manager for a Microsoft company, but you weren't always Microsoft, were you?
No, I was actually part of a startup called Maluba, based out of Montreal, Canada. We actually started off in Waterloo, Ontario in 2011, really working on digital assistants before Siri and Google Now existed. And we started putting our technology into cars, televisions, so you could communicate with your television or your car using your voice, and embedding our technology in there. And then as we moved along our path to scaling, we realized that we really needed more fundamental breakthroughs in technology to really accomplish the goals we had of letting users talk to their machines, whether that's your computer, TV, or your car, in natural language. So we set up a research lab based out of Montreal, working really closely with Yoshua Bengio, who is one of the pioneers of deep learning. So he had a lab based out of University of Montreal in McGill, and so we set up a lab there to attract the talent and work closely with him to understand how to build large-scale deep learning models. We did that. We set up a lab in 2015. We started to teach machines how to read. So one of our first demos was you could feed it a book and then ask a question, and then the machine would read the book and come back with the answer within a couple of seconds.
In seconds?
In seconds. So this was something not possible before deep learning came along. And we grew our team to 20 researchers, PhD students, and experts in the field who joined Maluba. And in 2017, Microsoft acquired the team, and then since then we've been focused on really shipping our technology across a portfolio of Microsoft products, everything from Bing to Outlook to Microsoft Office.
So what is it that Microsoft saw in your company?
I think a couple of things. One, the talent. We're in London. One of the first deep learning teams that was ever acquired was DeepMind by Google in 2014. And so Microsoft was really, they didn't want to miss out on the AI. Basically, they didn't want to miss out on AI because they understood that AI was going to really change the world. And in 2017, there weren't a lot of people doing really core fundamental research. So when Microsoft looked at the team, the research we were doing, the ecosystem that we were part of. I mentioned Yoshua Bengio. There were two other folks, so Jeffrey Hinton, who was employed by Google, and Jan LeCun, who was employed by Facebook. So this was Microsoft's way to also tap into and build connections with one of the pioneers in the industry, since Yoshua was part of the Maluba board. They really tapped into that Canadian ecosystem where they saw that there was just so much talent available. And since we've been acquired, Microsoft promised to double the team size, and we have surpassed that in the last 5 years.
So let's talk about talent. We've been hearing here, and even before the show yesterday and today, we're hearing a lot of people saying we can't find any talent in AI.
Yeah.
How are you getting talent?
Oh, it's all hidden in Canada. You got to come there. No, honestly, when we started at Maluba, there was one AI hub, which was Mila by Bengio. In the last 5 years, we now have 14 AI centers across the country. So you can sort of see that there's talent available across Canada. And I think a lot of it is because Canada has been doing research in AI and machine learning since the 90s. And
is that because of universities?
Because of the universities, exactly. The universities, the programs are funded by the government for really important R&D. So, and the government continues to support research, and they've been doing that for a couple of decades now. But now all of this talent that's just been building up is accessible to all of the companies. So, Microsoft is one company that acquired us, and then now they have a deep learning team there. But in the last 5 years, HSBC, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Uber, really any large tech company you think of, they've moved into Canada as opposed to Canadians leaving to go work in Silicon Valley, because they understand that the talent is there. And So why not just come to Canada and like hire people there?
So people here in the UK are familiar with the AI ecosystem here,
Yeah.
The US. What does the ecosystem look like for AI in Canada? We don't know.
Okay, I think one thing, the best way to really understand it is, so the government of Canada actually set up, they set up 5 different superclusters, and supercluster is an ecosystem on its own where there are large companies, startups, funding, and really, all of the support you would need to really grow your company and your business. So Canada set up an AI supercluster where all of these companies are now part of, and if you're a startup, you can get funding from VCs, from the government. You can actually sell your technology to the larger companies, not just tech companies, but a bunch of verticals, so like healthcare, climate. What else is big?
So is that drawing people from other countries?
It is absolutely drawing people from other countries because they see that, one, there's a talent there, but two, I've been speaking to a lot of companies here and they say, oh yeah, we have a few people working in Canada now, because the technology is also available. So they can look at what the startups are doing and how they can actually license that technology to improve their products, right? We don't always need to go build out technology. Sometimes it's just easier to partner to accelerate your roadmap and ship products as quickly as possible.
So is it easier for companies then to move into Canada and do some business there, or to basically just try to get the Canadian talent out of Canada?
Honestly, I don't see Canadian talent leaving. So in the last 4 or 5 years, we have had over 100,000 Canadians come back, and this is only for technology. We have had 100,000 Canadians come back home because they see that your family is there, your friends are there, the quality of life is what you want, and the ecosystem is growing. Why leave home when companies are willing to come to you? And we don't see that trend changing at all. So I think
in Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, the major cities, is it everywhere or is it centered in one
everywhere.
location?
So I'll talk about Montreal, Toronto, Waterloo. Those are the regions where I personally lived and seen the ecosystem just explode. I'm actually from Halifax, Nova Scotia. So when I grew up,
That's
it was
way up there.
It's on the East Coast. So when I grew up, it was really small place. But then now I visit my parents, and the city has changed completely. I don't recognize the city because just there's so many work. Like the economy has grown, and it's been being driven by technology being applied to different verticals. So on the East Coast, you might have ocean and like climate related stuff. On the West Coast, you have oil and gas, and though they're also evolving into looking at climate, green energy. There's agriculture in the West Coast. There is specifically for tech. There's a lot of like vision-based research and reinforcement-based research being done in Alberta. Really, any city you go to, Canada's landscape is changing.
So did the pandemic change how companies there do business at all?
I think so. I think again, I'll go back to talent. During the pandemic, a lot of companies moved to work from home. So a lot of my friends, for example, just took that opportunity to come work from home and be closer to home. They didn't need to be in the States, right? But in terms of companies doing business, I think honestly, from where I stand, the pandemic accelerated this digital move to digital by 10 years, right? Across industries, where it doesn't matter if you are a technology company or if you are a bank or if you are a car manufacturer, people weren't going into work, so everyone had to learn how to work digitally. With that, you needed software solutions, you need technical solutions to let people communicate with each other, to collaborate on different products that you're working on. That really accelerated the digital transformation we believe, by 10 years.
So a year from now, we're sitting here having this conversation. Mm-hmm. What will we be talking about?
I gave a talk yesterday on large-scale deep learning models. Those are coming out of research today, I think maybe in 1 to 2 years, you'll start to see the impact of those across companies and verticals. Today, you'll see those in Microsoft products because that's the fastest way for us to ship and validate that this technology works. But when that technology becomes available to our customers and our partners, we're going to see a massive transformation in how we work on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I look forward to that conversation a year later.
Yeah, thank you.